Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. We got our weekly Q&A, and we got a little wax on, wax off. Facebook has all these annoying pop-ups for me. I'm just trying to close them all right here so I can see you guys. Quick little announcement for you guys. For those of you guys who've been interested in the mastermind, I have exactly 6 spots. Sorry, I'm looking at my reflection. 6 spots left. If you're interested in one of those spots, we're offering a little free trial right now. I'll tell you who it'll best benefit if that's you, is if you got between 5 and 15 clients and you're looking to scale up and free yourself from your agency so you can have no phone calls, no meetings, like true lifestyle business. That's what we do around here. So if you're interested in that trial, reach out and I can give you some details. Anyways, let's get into the questions. Katie says, at which point in your sales process does your prospect learn the price of your offer and why at that time? Katie, this is something I actually just did a YouTube video on, and I'm very much against conventional wisdom. Conventional wisdom says, wait until the end of the phone call, let him have a heart attack then, and I believe in giving him a heart attack beforehand. I don't like getting on the phone with anybody who doesn't already know how much it costs to work with me. So I would suggest if you are going to be doing, that kind of thing, let people know. And the biggest reason why people don't do that, by the way, is because their offer isn't unique enough, and therefore they can be shopped 1,000 different ways. But I'll give you an example. If you have a mini monopoly, you want to put your price as soon as humanly possible. The sooner they can know, the better. So in my case, for example, the first mini monopoly I had, I didn't create intentionally. But we were doing SEO, and even back in 2007 when I first started, SEO was very, very competitive. And I remember, not as competitive as now, but within a few years, business owners were getting pitched 100 times a day for SEO, the same email templates from India. And we had a client come to us and say, can you guys help me create a little mini site? We were doing plastic surgery for mommy makeovers, and that was his really, what I call the $100 bill, the highly desirable kind of client. And we said, sure, why not? We'll set you up for this kind of desirable work, and what we'll do is we'll build a little mini site, and then we'll rank it for those keywords. Now, lots of people could do that, but we were the only ones who had that as an offer, which is we'll build you a mini site towards your highest and most valuable clients and rank it for those. And that was like a little mini monopoly. When you do that, you just put your price out there. Like, there's no need to hide it. They want it. So a big part of why people miss on that is just having something that's too generic, and then they try and hide their price till the very end. But in my experience, is the opposite of conventional wisdom, is let them know as soon as humanly possible. Don't get on the phone with anybody who doesn't know your price. Cursed. Anyone notice major fluctuations in rankings starting September 23rd? Cursed, as long as you're primarily doing SEO, you're going to notice fluctuations in rankings all the damn time. So that's just the nature of Google, is you're putting your entire business in someone else's hands. So what I would suggest is turn that SEO traffic into traffic you control. Also, Cursed, do you recommend working on a rank and rent model in 2021? Why? Yes and no, Cursed. One of the beautiful things about rank and rent, there's pros and cons to every business model. And with rank and rent, you control the whole business, because you're not you don't need to get a client, right? You don't have to wait for somebody to pay you. You can build a website and rank it. Having said that, it's harder to rank these days without a Google My Business listing. So there are some areas where it's trickier. I'll tell you the 2 biggest things that will save you time and energy if you do that. One is look for a client who knows how to close on the phone, because that's the biggest obstacle. And then second is do a whole lot of keyword research to make sure you're going after easy to rank stuff. Don't make it hard on yourself. Look for the opportunities. Demetrius, I've decided to revamp my agency. I've been doing research in a variety of markets to see which is a good fit for my service. It's been quite difficult finding any continuity with each market, and I figured I'd ask you guys and see how you perceive the markets. In your opinion or experience, which one of these industries would benefit from Google ads compared to other channels such as social Facebook ads? It's very, very simple, Demetrius, is if people know what they want to buy, then it's very conducive to Google ads. But I would say think about what you do. If you sell a tool-based solution, like I'm the AdWords guy, what you're going to find is that it's hard to consistently sell tool-based stuff for like good prices. You're just gonna have a hard time with it. It's just the nature of the beast. So what I would suggest is get away from being tool-based and start thinking about how can AdWords help solve their problem. I wrote a post, I don't know, yesterday about selling hammers, how most people are selling the hammer instead of what the person is trying to build, which they might be trying to remodel their kitchen. They might be trying to build a birdhouse that makes the daughter smile. AdWords is like a hammer. You don't want to sell the hammer. You want to sell the finished birdhouse with the smiling daughter. And when you do that, it's less about AdWords and more about how you're going to use that. And then you can use AdWords however you want to use it. Satpal. Can anyone suggest me lead generation landing page creation? Seems all quite expensive. Need just paid and leads in Excel sheet. Satpal, you can actually create landing pages very, very simply. In fact, you can create leads without landing pages just on social media by saying, raise your hand if you're interested, and that would be like the equivalent of an opt-in. What most people get wrong, by the way, on landing pages is what they're offering, like their little giveaway, is just not that exciting in the first place. And so it's not really about fancy software or tools or anything like that. They help make them look pretty and things like that. But what you most want to do is have something meaningful and useful to give away. So I'll give you an example. Nicholas Kusmich is, I think, the best explanation I ever got on this. He has an idea for what he calls a lead magnet for SAGE, which stands for short, actionable, goal-oriented, and educational. Short, actionable, goal-oriented, and educational. So I'll give you an example. We had an offer for a while that we were running with lawyers a couple years ago. It was helping them get more referrals. Most lawyers get 80% of their business from referrals and do nothing to make it happen on purpose. So all we did is we just gave away a little one-page checklist that said, here's all the things you can do for referrals. It was broken into 3 sections. Section 1, things you can do before they become a client to get referrals, things you can do while they're a client to get referrals, and things that after they've become a client where you can get those people to refer. And it was just a checklist, and you go through it, and it's very short. You can consume it in 10 minutes. It's actionable. You can take any one of those items and go, hey, that's a good idea. I'm going to build that. It's goal-oriented. It helps you like actually, deliver on the promise of getting more referrals, but it's educational. It shows you all the strategies you could be doing, right? And so that happens in 10 minutes. So that's what you want to create on a landing page, is like give away some kind of thing. And then the headline's really easy, right? It's just like download this 26-point referral checklist that all the top lawyers are using, right? Like it's an easy giveaway. So you want to think like that. Christine, I'd like to know your thoughts, please. Just had a lady who's a Pilates teacher contact me wanting to run some ads to go get her some new clients. This lady hasn't advertised on Facebook before and hasn't any engagement on her business page either. What kind of ads would you guys recommend, as she's pretty much going from a standing start? Thank you. Christine, you're welcome. Here's the deal, right? But just so you know, you took on the hardest client you're ever going to take on, which is somebody new who is not already having success with it, and so you got to kind of like build them up. So the first thing you're going to have to work on, by the way, is think about an offer that makes people convert. So, for example, if it's a Pilates thing, if she doesn't have people in there, especially if she's making her money from like monthly recurring things, then you may want to think about giving away like one free session. And then that's the kind of ad you run, is just, hey, come get one free Pilates session if you've been thinking about doing it. Here's all the reasons you should come in. And if you do that, if you have a really killer offer, that's where you would start. But where most people get wrong is they think too much about the bells and whistles of Facebook. How should I target it? How should I click this button or that button? And I'm not saying those things don't matter, but if you think more about like giving something valuable and meaningful away to people and getting in front of them, you'll have a lot more success than just like kind of guessing on that. I hope I'm saying this next name correctly. Bonginkosi, that's like the most African name I've ever heard. How much does a part-time VA cost versus full-time VA? How many hours a week per day does a part-time VA work versus full-time? Well, part-time can be anything you want. That's part-time. I would say full-time, typically is 40 hours. I would say anywhere from like $400 to $1,000 a month. The U.S. is pretty typical for a full-time employee. Obviously can vary with your systems, your processes, all that. So kind of just depends what you got set up. As far as hiring people part-time, usually you're going to pay them hourly, anywhere from like $3 an hour to like $10 an hour, I'd say is pretty typical. Obviously you're going to pay them more per hourly part-time. So it depends how much you need them. But there's a lot of different arrangements you can do to make that work. But hope that helps you a little bit. Lana, our girl. I've just done a recruitment process for my VAs and have a few candidates to spare. If you need someone from $2.50 to $5 per hour speaking Philippines speaking really good English, and we can also train them in basic high level for an additional cost. Hit me up while candidates are fresh. I just wanted to share this. This is not really a question, but awesome hiring process, by the way. You know, one of the things we're working on in the mastermind is getting all you guys to like bring on your staff without even having to do interviews, like the whole thing being meetingless, not just clients and meetings, but employees meeting lists and stuff like that. And so we've got some really cool processes, and Lana has gone through it and ended up with an abundance of people. So if you guys want some details on how we're doing that, I would be happy to do a training on that. Sean, I have an incredible amount of self-doubt. I've had a rough, let's say, year. 1 year ago, I was at the highest point of my agency life ever. After that, it's been my hardest year yet. Help me get out of my own way. I need to get out of this hole, this funk. I know Facebook ads like the back of my hand. I can sell like crazy once I'm on a Zoom. I just have this block on who and how to reach out from scratch. Sean, it sounds like really like step one, like nail down a niche, because nobody wants Facebook ads anywhere. That's the hammer. Like nobody wants a hammer. They want to build a birdhouse. They want to remodel their kitchen. So you need to be selling remodeled kitchens or finished birdhouse with a smiling daughter. So like, who can you best help with Facebook ads? Like position yourself for those people and then go actively get in front of them. If you're just trying to get any client, that's when the who is confusing. Like if I'm like, how can I reach a personal injury lawyer who's advertising on TV? I can make lists of those people and reach out to them. But if I'm like, how can I get a client? It's too big of a question. It's too vague. It won't produce anything meaningful. So I would say like, think about who you've had the best results with in Facebook ads, narrow it down, go after those people intentionally. And you do that, you'll have your best year this year too. But as far as the funk, you know, this is entrepreneurship in a nutshell. You're going to be in a funk. I would say like, we just had a private discussion in our WhatsApp group. And somebody who's there just like said, I'm having a really shit day. Somebody who's a genius in their own right and a really, really smart agency owner, but just whatever reason, today is not their day. And, you know, they screwed up a client thing. They think another client's going to leave. And, you know, it can be upsetting when those things happen. I would say if in your agency you don't question your sanity once every 3 to 6 months, you're probably not growing fast enough. Like for real, like it's just one of those things that'll test your mental fortitude over. So it's not necessarily like you shouldn't ever be in a funk. It's what you do about that funk. So, you know, dig yourself out of it, is get back your confidence, because your confidence precedes your actions. But I would say from a strategy point of view, like be really clear about who you can help, because then your confidence goes hand in hand with that. Justin, any tips for agency lead follow-up, some specific structures that work? Justin, I would say the biggest thing, like most people do with agency follow-up, that's kind of annoying, is they go, look, dear sir or madam, did you read my proposal? What do you think? And that's just a shitty way to do follow-up in my experience. Like it doesn't work and it makes you chase people. Two things work. One is if you're getting ghosted, use humor. And then the other thing is proof. Like if you're following up with people, like annoy them with testimonials, annoy them with case studies, whatever you got, even if it's just small scale proof. And you can do like, you know, I did a training here in the group on dramatic demonstrations. It doesn't even have to be your proof. It just has to be proof that what you're saying works, because what ends up happening is like, I would experience this when I would go into a lawyer like LinkedIn group, is that there's all these people shouting things at lawyers like 13 ways to blog and 7 ways to tweet. And even if you did all those things, like you would have blogs and tweets, but you wouldn't end up with getting clients. So you want to show people things that get results. And so when you do that, like that follow-up is always welcome. So that's it, really, is just show people what works. Eric, what approach and tactics would you recommend to help a client with a reactivation campaign? Eric, believe it or not, 90% of what success happens in a reactivation campaign has nothing to do with you personally. And it has everything to do with that list. So for example, if let's say there's a restaurant that was like my favorite restaurant, and I go to it and they're trying to reactivate me, and I had a terrible experience at that restaurant, well, you're just not going to be able to reactivate me. Like if the food was so-so and the service was slow, and you know, like, oh my God, they brought it out with a hair and they still wanted me to pay for it and they wouldn't replace it, and the waitress was mean. So reactivation has more to do with the relationship with the customer and less to do with your campaign. Having said that, the formula is really simple. Say thank you. Say like some version of like, thank you, we missed you. I would say, I guess the 3 steps. Thank you, we missed you. and then give them like a compelling offer and a reason to come back. That's really it. It doesn't need to be more complicated than that. And if it fails, by the way, you should run, because it means probably more than likely that business has not treated their customers well. And so you're not going to be able to dig them out of that hole if they're just mediocre, average, or below delivery. Like, they have to actually have something worthwhile to give to clients. Adam, what's your advice on selling a live event? Brenna is watching with me and wants to have one. I don't know who Brenna is, Adam, but live events it's really no different than any other offer. It's about what people are trying to build, what they want. The thing that I will say that helps, because live event has a unique risk, which is I come there and waste my time, right? Like, if I register for a Zoom training and it turns out to suck, I can leave pretty easily. Not so easy with a live event. So sometimes it helps with a live event to have a guarantee of like, we'll pay all your airfare and expenses first day. If the first day you don't think it's been valuable, we'll give you a complete refund plus airfare and accommodations. I've only ever seen one person ever claim that. I've been part of events where we sold thousands of people into the event, and only one person ever claimed that thing. So the guarantee will help you sell more. But ultimately, like, selling a live event's not all that different than selling anything else. It's like, it's about the results they're going to create and the problems they're going to solve, not about that. Chase, what's one secret to making money that most people don't know but should know? There's probably a lot of them, Chase, but I'd say the biggest one that not enough people know is that 60% of the success comes down to who you make offers to, 30% of your success comes down to the offer itself, and only 10% copy. So a lot of people like obsess about things that don't really matter. And I'd say the other thing to your question is, most people don't realize that like it's just as hard to build a fly-by-night business as it is to build a very legitimate like high-ticket business. I know, because in the beginning, like, I tried like 200 different ways to make money online. I even did something called e-whoring. E-whoring is like you impersonate a pretty girl on the internet and you get some like girl next door looking photos so it looks like a real person. And then you chat up some guy, and then that guy probably has penis in hand, and you say, hey, if you want to talk to me more, I'm going over to this dating website, like, come register, and the dating website pays you a couple of bucks every time somebody signs up. But the thing about it is, that's just not a sustainable business, and it's just as hard to do that as to grow a real business selling like $40,000 things, so you might as well do the real thing. Rohale, what do you think is the number one reason that over 90% of online businesses fail? There's a couple of things. One is, I think a lot of people just aren't entrepreneurs and shouldn't be running businesses in the first place, and it's hard because society doesn't teach it. Like, you guys, I'm sure, have noticed, if you say, I got a new job, you get like 500 likes on Facebook. Everybody likes you. You say, I started my own business, you get like 6, and usually the people closest to you be like, don't you want like a real stable, secure paycheck? Like, they'll kind of be like your anti-cheerleaders a lot of times. So like a lot of people just like really aren't cut out for like the hardships of entrepreneurship. You really got to love freedom, and you really got to love like creating your own path. And then the other thing is, I think where a lot of people get stuck is they come up with an idea and then they try and push their idea on the world. And what you need to do is actually come up with a market and then find problems and challenges within the market and then figure out how to solve those and bring your unique solutions. And not enough people do it that way. And so what ended up happening is they just create like Me Too things that are really hard to sell. And it's like, for example, I noticed in my hometown of Windsor, Ontario, Canada, we have like really good pizza. And I remember there were 9 pizza places within like 5 blocks of me, and a 10th one opened up. And they all deliver, and they all do the same thing, and it was like, there was just no need for that 10th pizza place, right? Like, but they were going to determine to sell pizza anyway, because everybody else is doing it, and there must be a market for it. Or I saw the same thing with like auto body shops. There'd be like just an abundance of guys who like started that business, but there's nothing unique and valuable they're bringing to the market because they're not really solving a problem that needs solved. So if you do that, like 90% of your businesses will succeed because you'll be actually solving real world problems. So I would say do it the other way around from everybody else. Figure out what your market needs and wants and give it to them. Omar, I need some advice from successful agency owners. I have been in sales all my life. I want to start an agency, and I'm not sure how to break in since there are so many niches and services to offer. 1, should I work in sales for an agency first and then start my own agency and use white label services? Or Should I specialize and learn a specialty like PPC or SEO, even though it seems like hitting a moving target due to constant changes? And if so, where would be the best place to learn? Also, do you have any courses or books you recommend? Appreciate your input. Omar, given that you have a sales skill set, like a lot of agencies need a sales skill set and an offer skill set and that kind of thing. And so what I would suggest, if that's what you have expertise in, then I would, as an agency, like service other agencies and help them build sales teams. So like you can just provide outsourced services where like, hey, we'll give you a salesperson plug and play, already pre-trained, ready to go, knows how to close. They'll close your deals for you. If you've got phone calls, we'll jump on them for you and set you guys up. And then you can build a whole team of people, and you can build an agency that's just doing the piece you already know how to do. I wouldn't try and learn AdWords and compete with like a gazillion other people when you've already got a skill set that's in demand. So that would be my 2 cents in your specific situation. Brian, where do you find good VAs overseas or overseas outsourced digital marketing? Fiverr and Upwork appear to be market rates in the U.S. Brian, I would say typically like the best place I get them is usually onlinejobs.ph or Facebook groups where like, just those kind of people hang out. Like if you're in a Facebook ads group, then virtual assistants who know how to run Facebook ads will be in those kind of groups. So those are the 2 places I usually get them, and I would say like definitely not market rates in America. Vivek, can someone show me some examples of high quality lead gen ads of a successful digital marketing agency? Vivek, this goes back to like a common issue that I see in a lot of cases is you're looking for like a really kick-ass ad that's for an agency, and the biggest reason why you probably are asking the question, I'm guessing, is because you want inspiration to create one for your own. And the biggest reason it's hard to create a meaningful message is probably because you're just aiming too big, like a successful marketing agency. The most successful ads, by the way, are usually like really tiny niche-focused ads. I'll give you an example just to help you understand this concept. So let's say I'm trying to reach anybody who's into sports, okay? Try and write an ad just in your mind right now for anybody who's into sports. It's kind of hard to do, right? Like which sport? How long have they been playing? Are they male or female? Okay. Now I want you to think just like, let's niche down a little more and think about writing an ad for a golfer. Okay. It's a little more targeted, right? Like you can talk about specific things now with golfer. Now I want you to think about even smaller. I want you to think about a golfer who's left-handed. I want you to go a little smaller. A golfer who's left-handed and has a slice. Now I want you to think a little smaller. A golfer who's left-handed with a slice and has a handicap of plus 10 or lower. Now, think about that. Now, I want you to compare the 2 examples I gave you. So the person 1, you're trying to create a lead gen ad for a successful agency, and you're trying to, like, at least from what I gather from the question, it's very, very broad. Try and write it. It's hard to do. But now try and write an ad for a left-handed golfer with a slice and a plus 10 handicap. And you know exactly who you're talking to, so the ad almost writes itself, and the targeting almost creates itself. So almost always, if you're having a hard time coming up with meaningful creatives, it's because you're too broad and you don't know who you're talking to. And if you think about how can I write an ad for a left-handed golfer with a slice, it's very, very easy. Having said that, like you'd be amazed at some of our ads how like really fucking stupid simple they are. They're just like one, we're testing a new offer right now, like a big retargeting thing, and it's just like, hey, 95% of the people who visit your website like don't hire your law firm, and they go to other people, and they go to other lawyers, and they don't hire a lawyer at all. We have a little process to chase them around the internet and get some of them to call you back. Come check it out, right? Like they're simple ads, but because we know who we're talking to and we know the market, they work. So the biggest thing I would say is if you're going to create a successful digital marketing agency kind of high quality lead gen ad, just know who you're talking to, and then the whole thing will get easier. Okay, I think this is the last question, yeah. Michael, on Facebook, Q4 is usually more expensive in terms of prices. Are there any values here that you can use as a guide? For example, how much higher the CPM will be in percentage terms than in the other quarters? What exactly can be done in Q4 to counter rising prices? Are there any strategic approaches here, or is there simply nothing you can do about it? Michael, like this is a staple of any ad platform, is that more and more competition comes in and rising ad costs happen. Obviously, Facebook, it's more pronounced in Q4 where all these people get in and they're advertising to hit on the Christmas kind of like craziness and all that. Having said that, I'll tell you, way too many people are focused on the wrong number, and it's that front end ad cost, my acquisition. How can I get that smaller and smaller and smaller? And what you actually want to be thinking about is how can I make my back end more and more valuable so that this cost up front is basically irrelevant. I'll give you an example of this. We had this up in our mastermind. People were asking how we do our Facebook ads, and one of our secrets is we run Facebook ads to go after $80,000 lawyer cases, and so it just gives us a lot of room to be wrong. And so like I could get 1,000 Facebook leads at $10, which is probably a pretty high cost. And if just one out of those 1,000 people converts, we spent $10,000 to make 80,000. That's still an 8-to-1 return on ad spend. So you can do them really poorly and be wrong. And that's an example of like if your back end number is high enough, then the front end ads almost always work. So where most people go wrong is I see them trying to optimize getting their costs just a little bit cheaper, which goes against the very trend of the platform, which is over time, ad costs are going to go up. It happened on Google. I have friends, by the way, who advertise on Google AdWords when it was 5 cents a click for like targeted buyer searches. And now those same keywords are like, $47 for one click. So this is what happened over time as the ad costs went up. But the people who expanded their back end and made that profitable are still winning. So the key isn't to try and deal with it on the front end. It's to think about like how can I build more value after somebody's in my funnel so that people keep paying us a lot of money for a long time. And so there's so many ways you can do that. It's like sell them bigger and better solutions, introduced affiliate products. What else do they need? How can you and it comes from a place of service where you just think about like your customers and what else they do. And I'll give you an example. I have a really smart, bright friend selling $1,000 or a $500 course on YouTube ads, and he sells about 2 of them a day. So that's $1,000 worth of sales. But the problem is, he told me I'm spending $1,000 to make $1,000 worth of sales. Now most people would try and deal with that, but like if I could get my ad costs. But my solution is actually way simpler. Is what's the second thing they need? Maybe some of them want one-on-one coaching or accountability, or maybe there's a related product or course that you could recommend, or maybe you could use the webinar that's working organically and then you have no ad costs at all. But there's ways of dealing with it, and very often the trying to get cheaper and cheaper on the front end is a losing game, period, and that's the game that most people play, and it goes against the nature of the platform, which is just ad costs go over time. So how do you deal with Q4? Capitalize on it. Figure out how you can bring more Christmas value to people and become part of those trends instead of having to fight the competition on it, and then you'll win every time. So that's a really good question, Michael. I'm glad you asked that. And that's all I got for you guys this week. If you're not already, get on YouTube because we got a whole bunch of replays and trainings and other cool shit. And it's free, of course, and you get to listen to me ramble on and crack some dirty, lowbrow humor kind of jokes. So that's all I got for you guys this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and may the force be with you.